everybody. Well, here we are at last for the first of our sessions in the Stronger Men's Ministry, and we've called the sessions The Heart of the Matter. Let me just take a few moments to introduce myself. I'm Pastor David Crabb. Strangely enough, I used to be pastor of Rugby Elim, but that's many years ago now. But I was pastor here from 1987 up through until 2008, after which Sheila and I moved down to Croydon and pastored our second church, after which we came back to Rugby. We had our own ministry for a while, itinerating and consulting with various places, charities and churches and organisations. And then in December of last year, I took retirement. I'd reached the age of 68 and felt it was time to move on to something new. So here we are back again in our home church of Rugby Elim. The Stronger Men's Ministry began as the men's prayer breakfast back in 1987 when I finished Bible college. And so it has been, as I've said in the intro, a vital part of the ministry of Rugby Elim. And we felt that apart from doing the events and the coming together, which are really important for the gathering of men, we would also begin a teaching series. So we've named this series The Heart of the Matter. So here in the first of the sessions, I'd like to challenge you with this question. What makes your heart come alive? That might seem a strange question, but I set it within the context of the words of Jesus Christ. Jesus said in John chapter 10, verse 10, "The thief comes only to steal, to kill, and to destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it to the full." And so this first session really is asking that question. Am I alive? Am I living in the way that Jesus seemed to be suggesting that I should live? Or am I just existing? Am I just surviving? You know, many years ago in 1279, William Wallace, Scotland's great hero, was talking to his men before the battle at Stirling Bridge. And he's reputed to have said these words. He said, "We all end up dead. It's just a question of how and why. Every man dies, but not every man lives." What a powerful statement. You've heard me said in the introductory video to this course that Howard Thurman also said, don't ask what this world needs, ask what brings you alive, and then go and live, because what the world needs is men who have come alive. Jesus Christ also said, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die." Now we know as Christian believers that our great enemy has waged war upon the souls of every human being on planet Earth, but in particularly upon the hearts of men. Because if he can cause men to settle for something less than what Jesus promised, then this world's in big trouble. Jesus needs the men of his church to be alive. And so this is the question for you today. And I want you to try and answer it as honestly as you can. What brings my heart alive? The temptation for Christian men is to instantly say Jesus. And if that's the truth, then that will obviously be seen in your life. It'll be demonstrated in some way in your life. And people will know just by being with you that they are with a man who has truly come alive in his life. See, many men exist. Many men merely survive, but they don't really live. In the words of John Eldridge, he said this: "Many men are living lives of quiet desperation." And for myself, I can think of a time when my whole life seemed to consist of getting up, going to work, coming home, having a meal, lounging in front of the television, getting up, going to work, coming home, etc. And that seemed to be all that my life consisted of. And the danger of that is this is how men can get drawn into all kinds of addictions, because they're looking for some kind of hit. They're looking for some kind of high that's going to take them beyond what they are currently, can I say, enduring, or surviving or existing within. But the words of Jesus tell us very clearly, life is much more than that. That when you become a Christian, when you become a Christian man, you are drawn into an incredible battle of cosmic proportions. The opportunities for you are endless. Jesus said, didn't he, that you see the things that I'm doing, you'll do even greater things than these, and it's hard to get hold of that, both cognitively but also experientially. But it is the truth. And so many men can get drawn into things like drink, drugs, porn, or even lesser things like addicted to football or addicted to other things. And it seems to be the only things they talk about. I want you to check out your own soul. We're told to test ourselves in the Bible. I want you to check out what are the things that make me come alive? What are the things that get me excited? And, it's possible for us to be present, but not all there. And this is what I used to see way back in 1986 and 87 when I was finishing my Bible college training. I saw men in church, but I saw them there because either their wives had brought them or they felt a sense of duty, but they weren't alive. They were dutiful, but they were disconnected from their passions and from their heart. If you think about the story of the Wizard of Oz for a moment, you'll know that one of the characters is a man called Tin Man. And what a lot of people don't know is the story behind Tin Man. And I looked at it, and he loses his heart after a witch places a curse upon his axe because he'd fallen in love with one of the witch's wards. And so his whole life and his whole passion gradually becomes extinct because his own axe turns against him and he begins to lop off his own limbs, and his great friend Q-Clip replaces his limbs with prosthetics, i.e. made out of tin, until eventually he becomes a tin man. So he lives a virtual life. Many people are involved in virtual church. They settle for something far less than what Jesus promised. Many have the form, the Bible tells us, but they deny the power. Saint Irenaeus, an early church father, said this. He said, God's glory is a man fully alive. And it begs the question again, what makes my heart then come alive? And it's very easy just to want to give the correct answer and just say, well, Jesus brings me alive. I want to ask you, does he? Does he really? Is that your experience day to day? Are you alive with dreams and visions of what you want to do for Jesus? And I want to try and stimulate that in you through this series, and I hope that it achieves that as well. Now, when man was created, you can read this in the Genesis account of chapter 2, verses 7 to 8. Man is formed actually in the wild. He's actually placed in the garden. And one of the reasons God puts him in the garden is to tame the whole environment. And so he's put into Eden to take care of it. And you know something? Perfection still requires work and nurture. Church is not perfect. If you've come to church expecting it to be a perfect environment, you've come to the wrong place. Church has to be perfected. It has to be nurtured. And church is obviously the people. It's not a building, it's the people within the church. But many treat church as a place to just be put in or to go to, and not requiring any nurture and any perfecting. And what causes many men to hanker for a tamer environment, yet not be prepared to work for it and to nurture it. So I want to ask you this as we come to a close of this first video. I promise they're only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes long. Is your life inviting you to be wild and unfettered? Not to be disobedient or anything like that, to still be a disciplined person. But are you going to end up like some, with no passion, with no purpose, tame, bland, even impotent? Jesus warned, and I've quoted this already, many present a form, but they deny the power within. And speaking of an end-time generation. but denying itself. He spoke of people who are lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And this is in 2 Timothy chapter 3, the great apostle speaking here. Or are you a part of a band of brothers existing to serve something greater, someone greater than ourselves, a sense of living for this greater purpose than mere existence or survival? Does that describe your walk of faith? You see, men need to be called out of comfort, out of their comfort zones, and into a greater purpose. Ask yourself this question: how do I want to be remembered? It's not a matter of totting up things that you've done or achieved. It's about a sense of being. It's about who you are. What would people say about you? And if they can say, you know, he really knew how to live, then that's something wonderful. So I want you to, in closing, ask yourself a number of questions. For instance, what kind of films do you like? What do you like to watch and why? Which character would you like to be? Who do you identify with? You know, I like to watch films like Gladiator, and of course everyone wants to be Maximus Decimus Meridius. Everyone wants to be the hero, hopefully. I certainly don't want to be an extra. When I used to watch Star Trek when I was younger, you know, the first original series, you knew that all the guys in the red tops were the ones who were going to get killed off because they were just the extras. I'm not an extra, are you? I want to be one of the main characters. You know, and if you think of the great Arthurian myths, I want to be the knight riding out from Camelot with his charger and his glistening armour and his sword and his shield and his lance. You know, I want to be a hero. I want to be remembered for something. And I want to be involved in the purposes of God. So ask yourself that, because Jesus came offering life to the full. What does that mean for you? How do we interpret life? What are the things that inhibit life? What is being stolen from me? What is being killed in me? What dreams and visions have I had that I might need to think about picking up again? What's being destroyed in me? Because that's the work of the devil. You know, whenever something of Christ is being birthed within us, the devil is waiting there to consume it. You read Revelation chapter 12 and you'll see that pictured for us very clearly from verses 13 to 17. I'm not asking you to become a mere personality. You know, in ancient times, we're told that the great patriarchs would build altars of worship wherever they went, but they would pitch their tents. In other words, the tents were temporary, but the altars were permanent. Some people are just pitching personalities, but others are building characters. And I want to challenge you today: be a builder, build a character, so that when the personality is expressed, it's coming from a pure place, and people could say of you, there is a man who truly knew how to live. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time.